focus chat on from 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern. If you'd like to give us a follow, that would be fantastic. We still need to get over that 1,000. And also, actually, we live stream these on YouTube, so you can subscribe over there if you want to. If you can't make a chat and you want to listen in the podcast. And we thank everybody that watches our content and subscribes. And at the end of the day, we're here to engage the community. So please, if anybody has any questions, raise your hand. If you're curious about something, I guarantee you other folks are. And so, it's an open forum. But if you do speak up, please just be cordial and welcome to the space. And Death's doing stuff with his son today. So, but let me see if somebody did want to speak up. I don't know if anybody wants to speak up. I was looking at that Stably. I don't know if anybody saw that, but I thought that looked interesting.
What was that? I missed it.
Stably. It's a new stable coin that's coming to the XRP ledger. It's backed by it's audited by a law firm, or I think it was a law firm. Anyway, it's audited, I think monthly is what they said. And it's backed by commercial bank deposits. So there's good and bad things I could say about that. And there was something else. But yeah, it's a new stable coin that's coming to the XRP ledger. It's cross ledger. So it goes across multiple ledgers. And so, like I tweeted out, I was like, yep, that sounds like Liquidity Hub, like a tool or like a dependency that you would want to have in place if you were going to build a Liquidity Hub. You would want something like that. And it's USD denominated.
I think I saw something about California not allowing the use of stable coins unless they're issued by a bank. Or did I hear that here?
I didn't hear that. That doesn't mean it's not true. I think that the Congress might push something through on stable coins actually before we get really comprehensive legislation on broader crypto, right? Which is an oddball way of approaching it, but okay.
What's going on, Dutch?
Yeah, Dutch, you got your hand up there?
Yeah, guys, how you doing, man? Hope you're well. I just got a question about the Web3 and Internet of Value. Regards esports, at the moment we've got a big problem with esports teams having to travel around the world or travel around a country just to play competitors, because playing through a server has a time delay, and the problem is that it causes disruption to playability. So they're having to travel around all over the place, right, trying to play these tournaments and competition, costing them thousands in air flights and all sorts of stuff, right? So what difference will this Internet of Value make and Web3 make to this problem? Thanks.
Well, I'm not sure why are they having to travel around to play esports? I would think you would do that over the web.
Yeah, it's basically they got the problem with when they're playing on a computer system itself, it's zero time delay type of thing. So they prefer to play like that, and if they go through servers, the time delay is so much that they can't really play a proper game.
Nah, so pretty much they want a local LAN network.
Yeah, that's what that sounds like.
So that's what I'm asking, my friends, is that all this disruption that is happening to these people because of not being able to travel around the world and talents being left behind because there's people with more money in their pocket able to travel to these tournaments. How can we resolve the problem of people having to travel to play esports and not play them online through the Internet of Value and Web 3.0?
I've actually thought about this before, and it just has to do with the metaverse. I don't know if you guys saw the Meta commercial uh, that showed them racing within a metaverse. So it'll be something similar like that. I think. I mean, as far as latency go, that's going to be very tricky, right? Everybody would probably need to have just to be on the safe side the same internet speed, maybe same hardware as far as like your router in between your devices. Maybe something that the tournament would sort of manage and sort of fix the little latency that's differences. That's sort of what I think as far as that. But traveling, I don't think that's ever gonna stop when it comes to esports because they want to blow up those events like that. They want to create that big stadium. Now, what I'm thinking is there's probably going to be a combination of maybe qualifying rounds. They're going to be like on the metaverse and whatnot, and then the actual finals is going to be in the stadium where you have to travel, and then that itself will probably be in the metaverse as well. That's sort of what I'm thinking.
That's a nice answer, man. Thanks.
Yeah, that seems to make sense. I mean, I think the only way crypto or Internet of Value, because the value part, would have anything is maybe in the prize money or the digital assets inside the game, like swords and shields and properties and whatever signs. I don't know. Stuff that's inside the game that for whatever purpose of the game matter or are valuable. Could do the accounting for that. But no, I think OC said it right because if you're if the problem is you need to be on a LAN like a local area, what is that called? Local area network.
Yeah.
You gotta there's there's not a replacement for that. Like there's nothing that the Internet of Value is going to do to make the data packets transfer between the machines faster. Like that, it's not going to do that. That's just not what it does.
Yeah, and especially
What about
if
5G? What about 7G and 5G going up to 6G, 7G? Will that help?
yeah, I think it's really gonna depend on the country, right? On the country's infrastructure. Maybe if everybody adapts the whole Starlink thing. I know cruise ships started to apply that. That could potentially be an issue that the tournaments can sponsor, maybe potentially. But I think it's going to rely on the country's infrastructure in order to, for it to be on the even playing field. Because I know for some sites, I'm a network engineer by trade. We got sites in Shanghai going down constantly. India, we got to shut them down because of the heat. Everything's overheating. So there's definitely like power outages because of that. So yeah, the infrastructure is going to be very important for it to be a fair game.
Yeah, that's a good point. Solar systems are very, very important nowadays.
It's almost kind of like the I don't know if you've ever looked at the drone racing, but the competitors have to the connection speed between the remote and the drone is the difference between winning and losing. I mean, you could be the best pilot, right? But if your connection speed is slower, you can't control it as accurately and you just can't fly as well.
Maybe the Starlinks solve this problem.
I mean, you can put everybody on a level playing field, as the saying goes, right? Like nobody's allowed to have more than this speed or this connection type, right? And so they do that in the I think it's kind of stupid, but in the NASCAR racing stuff, there's limits to what you can do to those cars because they want everybody on a level playing field. You know, like you can't play professional sports and take steroids because they want everybody on a level playing field. I mean,
Yeah, you can imagine a car turning up with a jet engine on top.
yeah,
Hey, Karma and everyone. Happy Friday, by the way. Happy Friday, everyone. Sorry.
I don't know what else you would do other than, like, I think OC had a good idea there. Like, I could see like qualification rounds going over the internet, and then maybe you rate limit each player so that nobody has like a speed advantage or anything. And then when you do the, like, you know, the tournament at the end with the top players, you do it in a LAN format.
You know, the Oasis in Player One Ready, is that like something realistic with quantum computers and on D-Wave computers already here and stuff like that? What do you think? How many years until the Oasis is real?
As fast as we can flip the infrastructure, right? I think the technology is probably already here. It's just as far as just setting it in place.
Speaking of quantum computers, I guess you that maybe not. How do you guys think it will work out? Like when the quantum computers are ready, will it be like a shock in the face for everyone? Like, yeah, it's ready, it's operating, they're ready now. And how will it be? Will it be like one day, like they say that, okay, now we have quantum computers and
Well, you can already, I think it's a simulator, but IBM already has a quantum API that you can use. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's a simulation, but it'll probably get distributed somehow like that. Gosh, my cat's on a runabout. It'll probably get distributed initially like, you know, they're not going to sell you a desktop quantum computer, right? But there'll be some, because these things have to be held at like almost 0 Kelvin temp, like basically as old as it can be.
And they cost about $3 million to $10 million at the moment. I mean, Google's got one, quite a few, Amazon and all these big companies have got them. But the problem is, if they get into like everyday hands, then obviously then they could be used to kind of break blockchains and stuff like that.
Dutch, how much did you say Google spends? How much did you say Google spends on it?
Sorry, say that. Yeah, say that again, mate.
I was just wondering how much did you say Google spends on it? You said how much?
Yeah, I think they started about $10 million. D-Wave computers started about $10 million, and I think they've come down to about $3 million at the moment. D-Wave computers.
Wow.
but how long after do you guys think like we can have a device at home, like a stationary PC and things like that, that would be a quantum computer after that?
Well, it'll be years and years. I think of a server client architecture. The quantum computer will be in some place that hey, get down from there. The quantum computer will be in some place, and you'll just like a cloud service. You know, you'll tap it because you're not going to need it for everything, right? But when you have that hard problem, you might want to tap it. So you just use it for when you need it. It's not going to probably be economical to have one yourself unless you have some, you know, unless you're probably like a bigger company or something. Like a Google or, you know, Microsoft or IBM or somebody like that. It'll probably be a long time, probably a couple decades before anyone can have a quantum computer at home. Jeez, that sounds crazy.
That'd be fun though.
I think XRPL is going to be quantum proof by the time quantum computers become accessible. Anyway, they're supposedly targeting 2025, 2027 or something to become quantum proof.
Well, there's an argument that can refute what I'm about to say when it comes to the cryptography. But the UNL itself is kind of quantum proof in a way, in a subtle way, because there's no quantum computer that can make me trust you or you trust me. Right? So when I set my UNL up, oh, I saw the XRP Ledger Foundation removed some people from their UNL, right? So they no longer trust these people. There's nothing that any quantum anything can do that says the XRP Ledger Foundation is not allowed to stop trusting those three people or those three organizations. There's no quantum way to break that. That's just that. That's a human. We don't like the way you guys have been running your hardware. You haven't been updating, and you're not keeping up, and we don't trust you anymore. And so we're taking you off of our list. There's no way to break that with a quantum computer.
Yeah, that's good point made. I'm talking more about passwords for wallets and stuff like that. They can be easily broken by quantum computers.
Yeah, that's a different story. There's a guy, he's not in here at the moment, but who's a cryptographer that comes in here, and he's usually pretty good at explaining that. Apparently, there's a couple of, I think there's like 3 quantum like encryption schemes. I could not speak to him. I don't know, man. I mean, I kind of follow this stuff, but just more casually, right? Like,
That's quite interesting. People don't know where the bloody information comes from in these quantum computers. They ask a question and miraculously the answer turns up from some other dimension. It's pretty crazy shit.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, it's something I've been following for years. It's really cool. And the thing is, it's going to open up. Do you know the difference between like P and NP?
Carry on.
It's effectively a measure of the computational power it takes to solve a problem. So P problems we can solve. NP, and I don't even remember what those two things stand for. NP, I wish what's his name was in here. NP is we can't, well, there's been some like breakthrough mathematicians that have taken a problem that we previously thought was NP. I think there's even NP hard above that. It requires even and through some formula that they thought of, they actually moved that problem from NP to P. But the quantum computers will allow us to solve a lot of these NP problems that, like right now, I don't care how you can be Einstein, you still don't have the tools and the computational capacity to solve these problems. Quantum computers are going to allow us to start addressing some of those questions and problems. So it's going to open up some, I guarantee you it'll be like a flurry of discoveries. It's a little bit like, so if you give humans a new tool, blockchain, what's that one in the bio world? CRISPR.
Yeah, CRISPR,
Yeah. And then like throw quantum computers as another one. When you give humans a new tool, there's always a flurry. The first people that pick those tools up, there's always a flurry of discoveries and stuff. Yeah. It's like, that's just how things happen.
You got CERN as well. CERN smashing.
Yep. A lot of discoveries come out of there. It's cool to watch. I mean, it's fun. Like,
Yes. So they've got Elon Musk and making this Neuralink and stuff like that as well. So like transhumanism is on the way big time.
yeah, there's that. I don't know. I do think the blockchain and Internet of Value is the next biggest thing that'll probably have the most significant impact on humanity. CRISPR's big, and it's already here, right? But I think blockchain, the thing is with finance and stuff, it's all intangible. I mean, outside of holding the paper dollar or a credit card and thinking you got something of value, it's the whole system and everything. It's all intangible, so people don't see it, so they have a hard time appreciating it. Which is that's understandable, but it is what it is. All this stuff gets upgraded in the next couple of years. I mean, there's been so many years worth of work. This is really about in the next couple of years, I think, going to get pushed over the precipice. I mean, the regulations is going to be a big deal. How that's done is going to matter, of course. We'll see. See what happens. But I think it has a chance of really improving just all of humanity's ability to do whatever it is humanity wants to do. You know, work together for whatever reason, to whatever goal or end or.
So if you had a quantum computer right now, Karma, what was the first thing you would do with it? Like use it for?
That's a good question.
I'd probably there's some of these NP problems. There's awards out there. I'd probably try and solve one of those. I mean, here, let me do a quick Google search. Let's see. I forget what they are. A lot of them are graph oriented. That's like network complexity science type stuff. There's a whole list of these problems, man. There's a Wikipedia page. Just look it up. Yeah, graphs and hypergraphs, that's all going to be complexity science. I don't even know what half of this stuff is, man. Outside of that, unless I could solve one of these problems and use it to create like an application that would help folks, or like, you know, create a new service that other non-quantum computer possessing companies would not be able to provide, so I get some competitive advantage. That's probably, if I could match those two things and crack that problem, not tell anybody the secret sauce, provide a service that outcompetes the competition. Yeah, something like that.
I have heard that there's many cool mathematical calculations you can like do with these quantum computers. I don't remember exactly what it was right now, but what was it again? Yeah, what was it?
There's a list of them. Just Google NP problems.
NP problems with like NP.
NP. Let me see. It's short for, I think it's like NP complete. Google a list of NP complete problems. This is a list of a dynamic list. Okay, whatever. What the hell's NP stand for? I forget. Basically means you can't solve it. Like, it's a problem we know about, but you can't solve it.
Yeah. That was what I was talking about. I was reading about some things that wasn't solved before. I can't remember exactly what it was.
Non-deterministic binomial time complete.
Yeah.
That's probably something David Schwartz would know about. A little over my head. Anyway, what's up there, Vet?
What up, Vet?
What up? What up?
Did you see XRPLF changed their UNL?
They changed?
And yeah, I think so.
That would be news to me. I
Come
doubt
on,
that.
Matt.
Now they removed 3 people.
Did they remove you, Karma?
No, I don't have a server up and running yet. We're going to be working on that at some point.
Who's
Who
going
they
to remove
take out?
Karma, man?
Wait, let me see. I really want to see this. It would be really news to me, honestly. I haven't seen anyone. No,
Well,
they didn't remove.
It was sent to me by a credible person that I've known for years. So, who
Okay.
actually is at the XRPLF. So, I'm
Karma,
pretty sure it's
the
not
room is
like
recorded.
What's that?
The room is recorded. You gotta be careful.
That's fine. I'm not saying anything wrong. But I'm pretty sure it's not BS. But
The thing is, it makes sense to me. Sorry for the noise if you hear any. So it makes sense to me because there are some validators, I think, who are not performing.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know for sure. Like, I can imagine who it is. I think it's one of the Indian one. What or is it? I think it's the only Indian one. The one with the Indian domain. Then there's data 443. It's also kind of slacking. But the third one, I have no clue. I mean, it makes sense. But the thing is, guys, they don't remove people because they don't have 100% uptime or something. This is not what they're looking for. If I'm correct, it's more about responsiveness. Like, if they want to get in touch with you and they cannot for months, then that's an issue. And I think that's reasonable, right? So if they cannot get in touch with you because something is up, or they just want to give you a notification, hey, please update, or look, this is something important, can you check if you want to vote on it or not, and they cannot get a hand on you, then that's an issue.
I think they mentioned that in the article. Yeah, they put up a blog post.
Can you? Is this somewhere? Because I haven't read anything.
I retweeted earlier.
Okay.
Today.
Okay. Let me see if I find it and get you into trouble.
No, just do the, if you want to post the what is it? XRPLF, whatever the hell their thing is, the foundation's thing to the top, that's fine. It's not
is it you retweeted Rabbit and he retweeted Ally? Is it that?
It might be. Rabbit runs a validator.
Oh, he runs a hub.
You want to put it up top?
Yeah.
I've talked to him. He's a really nice guy.
Oh, they are all nice guys, honestly. Like, I had no clue, but they're really cool.
I'll tell you what, man. I have been surprised, even in these spaces, but online and the type of people and who I've met through this community. I think in part it's a situation that attracts just, the curious types. So maybe there's a little bit of selection bias there. but I've been really kind of oddly impressed at just the quality of people that I've met in the XRP community. I mean, I wouldn't say kind of. I mean, I have been impressed. Like I've run into some people that I would never think I would run into, right? Like, interesting.
I'm more actually impressed.
That's very
about
kind
the,
of you, sir. Thank you.
What's that?
Yeah.
I was saying that was very kind of you to say them good words.
Well,
Because
it's true.
sometimes a lot of us get very lonely, doing this because it takes so much passion to kind of change the whole system.
Oh yeah.
That it takes you away from everything else.
No, you got to be tenacious, persistent. Oh, damn it! Did she get another? Okay. You got to be tenacious. You got to be persistent. Quite honestly, you pretty much have to be pretty smart. In certain multiple subject arenas or areas. It's, I mean, I've met people that were way up. Like we had one guy in here. He was a senior analyst for the World Bank, and he was in here asking questions, and I'm sitting there scratching my head, going, shouldn't we be asking him the questions? Right? Like he's the senior analyst at the World Bank, like not me. Like I'm just some guy. And so, you know, it's been, I mean, the Bank of England guy, and like I talked to him privately, and he really was at the Bank of England. That wasn't BS.
Karma,
Huh.
have you reached out to him recently since his
No,
Twitter went inactive?
no. I mean, I unless I have a reason to reach out to him, I don't know why. I mean, I'm not going to bother somebody. Just, no.
Yeah, Karma. What you said? This is last year.
Definitely,
The changes
XRP
last
was
year.
pre-chosen before Bitcoin was even created that it would be actually the world standard currency. I definitely agree. I think it's all been planned from 1980, I think 88, when World this economic magazine owned by Rothschild. You must have seen it with the phoenix in the front. And it's been planned a long time. So there are, people like Rothschilds, man.
Here's the
They're
thing.
both.
Here's the thing. And this isn't like some evil plot or whatever the hell nonsense conspiracy crap. The fact is, networks are inherently monopolistic. Not even Google could unseat Facebook once they had achieved critical mass, because they tried to do their own social network, and actually it was better, but it doesn't exist anymore, right? Money is a network technology. Okay, if you're the only man in the world, you don't have all the money, there is no money. Because what are you going to buy from somebody if there's nobody to give it to, right? It's just a nothing. So I think it's reasonable, given the monopolistic nature of networks and the money is a network technology. It's reasonable that we ultimately develop something like an internet of value. Now, this is going to be a federated system, right? So there's not going to be anybody in charge of the whole freaking internet. Looks like there's nobody in charge of the entire internet. But, different companies and countries and will make their different will run their different systems, and they'll, connect up, and the value can flow. So the internet of value becomes like one giant monopolistic internet, except no individual owns it. Like no company owns it, no country owns it. Every participant participates how they do, whether they're just a wallet holder or node operator or running a business, however they participate. Each country can make rules however they want to regulate it in any which way that they see fit. But ultimately, once the whole thing gets assembled, I think it's gonna turn into one gigantic global internet of value, like piece of monetary infrastructure, like global monetary infrastructure. And I hope, at least I have hopes, and I believe that it'll be a good thing in the end. It's a worthwhile pursuit, right? To go after. It's a big one. It's not a little task, but
So kind of coming back to what, I don't know if it was Tony or Dutch was saying, that in a way, I mean, yeah, it's not
If
necessarily
it's
an
going to
evil
happen, we should
conspiracy.
take advantage of it, definitely. I think it's not just for the bankers to take advantage of. They have been trying to scare people off with the SEC case and stuff like that, trying to prevent people from buying it. But the sensible people know what to do, really.
I totally agree, Torma. I think this is so much bigger than
Guys,
a
how
lot
about
of
not
us.
talk over each other?
Sorry.
Hamza was talking. Go
Yeah,
ahead,
I
Hamza.
think I
Thanks, Vet. Yeah, so it does sound like low key. It's not necessarily an evil conspiracy, right? But there's at some point somebody recognized that our system of money could be done better, and what does it look like to implement that, especially amongst a global population who is in all likelihood going to initially distrust the idea of moving fiat into a digital space, right? And so, in the event that the idea was had to create a global reserve currency, um, being
Hello?
able to get
Is anybody
acceptance for
talking?
that. Can you not hear me?
Yes, we can have
I
you,
can hear
Hamza.
you, but I think Dutch has
I think
connection issues.
yeah, Dutch. Looks like you can't hear Hamza speak.
I can hear
Sorry.
Hamza.
Okay.
No, I think Dutch is having connection issues though. Try exiting the space and then coming back on.
So yeah, it just comes back to the idea that in order to be able to implement a global system of monetary, like worldwide monetary system, it would really, it doesn't seem like it would work very well to be initiated from a top-down perspective and have to start from at least the appearance of a bottom-up creation. That's hence we get Bitcoin, right? Which isn't the ideal option, and so the next step is, okay, we need something better than this, and have the people tell us that they want it. We desire this thing because we want the freedom that comes along with it. Not necessarily, maybe most people might not even be aware of how it actually benefits the system as a whole.
do you know the term of like a federated system?
Only in relation to XRP.
Okay, well, think of like your email. Okay, so everybody can use email, but like I might use Google, you might run your own email server. Somebody else, actually, there's still people that use AOL. Somebody else might use, I don't know, Yahoo or something, whatever else. But still, all these different systems, even though nobody is like, none of like AOL's not in charge of Google. Google's not in charge of, I don't know, you running your own server. You running your own server's not in charge of, I don't know, Yahoo or whatever. Pick another email provider. Um, but still, the whole system works, right? So that's a federated system. It's when you can have all these different things. This is why Interledger Protocol was such a brilliant move, because it enables this federated system for these ledgers. I mean, it's an architecture change. It's a big leap in design thinking, in terms of like system design. But it's it's why, like, hey, let's say you're Russia, okay, and maybe just maybe the U.S. isn't really going to want to trust you right now. Well, that doesn't mean you still can't engage with the Internet of Value, right? Like, you can just engage with other people, and that doesn't mean that the U.S. has to not use the Internet of Value because you're using it. So you don't have to agree with other people. I mean, you agree on the standard, the protocol, interledger protocol, but you don't have to like agree with the other people. Like we were just talking about XLF or the foundation. Um, they took some people off their UNL. That's fine. Does that mean those people need to shut down? No, they can still be on the UNL for plenty other validators and participate in the network. That's completely fine. It's not exactly Internet of Value, but it is sort of, in a sense. I mean, it's a part of it.
In regards to that, I've been reading a lot about the UNL and versus the DUNL, right? And a node operator, my understanding is, they set their own. They have not only the option, but also the recommendation to set their own UNL, right? And so the question that I have is, in the event, let's say, Chase, right, wants to set up their own set of nodes, right? Then they could have their own UNL that's they trust information that is submitted to them from the other nodes within their own UNL and nobody else. Is that kind of similar to the idea of a federated sidechain, but more along the lines of like transaction verification and all that, or would that be a thing?
Um, Similar concept, slightly different. I'm not exactly sure if I can describe the difference, but I can like taste the difference. The UNL, yes, each validator can pick their own UNL. They can set it to as few or as many. I don't know that there's a max. Pretty sure there's not a max. As few or as many people as they want. Um, if they want to be taken serious, though, they're going to want to be on. They're going to want to have like that's that. Okay, I'm running the node, right? So I'm going to trust the top 10 people in this chat, just because all of them.
Yeah,
There
but
we
this is
go.
the issue. This is the issue. Who is the top 10? Like, what is the metric? That's the
Well,
issue that
that's what. Hold on. Let me finish the point. The point is, the top 10 people in this list could all just be people that are just individuals running their own node, and they're not really connected to anybody else. So it's not really going to matter. Versus what I really want to do if I'm going to be a successful validator is I want to have the people that like think of it in social media terms if you want to. Like, you want to have your social media influencers, your popular people that are connected to everybody, right? You want to be in the center of the graph. Think of like a network topology. You want to have the people that are in the center of that topology trust you, right? So that's a different story. You can't go and configure their server settings and say, make their server trust me, right? Like, you can trust them, but you can't make them trust you. So you got to like earn it.
So hypothetically, if let's say every single, I don't know, JP Morgan Chase, right, were to set up their own node and trust each other, but then have like the central one that also trusts or is, I guess, attempts to be a part of the default UNL. Um, I'm trying to get an idea of like how this might work for a
they
large
would fork away.
organization that wants to. They would fork away.
They would fork away if they are enough people from these bankers who are not basically on the same list as everyone else has. Then they have basically a separate network, and they have to maintain, like, I think it's 85%, but I remember Putin was saying 66, 68%.
80.
Yeah. or 80, but you haven't much room actually of how many people you could include as a, let's say, JP Morgan or whatever. Like you need to include the majority, and you can add some other people on top of it. You can always add more to it, but I think you don't, but not less, because else you run also into issues. And if you have way too more, sorry, no, I have to correct. If you add way more, then you also run into issues that you don't have the same overlap. The overlap is the issue, and if you don't maintain it, you fork away immediately.
But how much of that, distributed, yet with distributed network of validators with a centralized structure as the head, right? Like how much overlap would need to happen between, would it be each of those nodes would have to have a level of
Yes,
overlap, or
yes,
okay?
yes. If the so you basically count every node and look at their list. Then you have like a topology of nodes with a circle around them, right? And the intersection of each of these circles is basically the UNL. And if you have no intersection with all these other circles, basically, and you are not in the same group, the supermajority, as it's called, then you're not participating in there, because the supermajority is what decides, and you would basically fork away and have your own supermajority, which could be only you or a bunch of other people, which would be, I don't know, banks or whatever.
Would that
Yeah,
be
and
a
you can
private ledger?
you can run the software on your own. You don't even have to try and
Yeah,
connect to the
yeah,
network.
exactly. Yeah,
You
but
can
how much
just
value is it? But how much value is it? This is the thing, right? If you fork away, yeah, it's basically a total different network. You're not interacting with the same. It's not the same XRP. This is what I want to say. It's not the same stuff.
No, it would just be your own thing. But like I've got a couple of ideas where I could do a standalone instance, and I don't really need to connect to the public ledger. The software itself, like the XRP ledger, like what it does, like I could design some services that nobody's going to care that it's running on a technically on a blockchain technology, and I just run a single instance, and it just accounts for stuff and does things, and that's like better than the competition.
Yeah, but see, this is what I was also like, because I see both sides. Because people say, yeah, there's a default list, and with the default list, everyone is using the default list. Therefore, everyone has basically 100% overlap, which is indeed the case, because you use all the same lists. So your circle around your node is basically it's a point. We sit all on the same point and have the same circle around us with the same 35 UNLs. But the thing is, the absence of such a list would be devastating, in my opinion, because many validators are not, looking after these things. Like they would not go and create their own list. I highly doubt. I highly doubt, because either they would do that, and in that sense, you would have a huge diversity of lists, and they would get their their own supermajority, or in fact, which is my thesis, even if everyone would not have their own list, right, default shipped, and they would have to create their own list. In my opinion, okay, this is my opinion, we would still end up with the same validators because they are just the most trustworthy, the most reliable, and the longest in the game, and have just the knowledge. So you would essentially just go over the list or an XRP scan or whatever, you would watch the validators, and you would put this, probably, in my opinion, the same ones in, right? And you would end up with the same people. So, you have also to see both sides. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and that makes complete sense, right? And only for if I was Ripple or whoever the XRP Ledger Foundation that has any influence about the DUNL, I would look at who has been the most active, successful participants on my network currently, and over the longest period of time and say you would be an excellent validator to be added to the DUNL, right? But I just wanted to clarify one more thing about my last question, that in the event that an organization were to create their own set of validators, would that then create essentially a private ledger? Like, is that what private ledger creation is?
Well, you could, yeah, basically it would be like a side chain, I would think. Doesn't that make sense, Vet?
Yeah, it makes sense. Like as I said, if you create your own list and you have, what is it, 80%, less than 85% of the overlap, then you fork away with everyone who follows your list. It doesn't have necessarily to be only you. It could be like other people who follow your lead, and you could be like a bunch of people, but you would fork away. So you would not listen to what the supermajority of the other network would do. And in my opinion, this is kind of sidechain, although it is not really, without the software that deals with, connecting those with the federators, and you have like these gates and all that stuff. Yeah.
You would be a isolated side chain. Yeah, you'd have to have the connector, the federator. This goes back to federated side chains, like the internet and federated systems. It took me a minute to understand that stupid federated concept.
But just to add here, sidechains is used very inflationary in my opinion, because many people, and I think the majority, sees sidechains as basically any other chain that exists aside the XRPL. It could be anything, it could be even Flare or whatever. And you need a bridge. If there's a bridge, right, like any connection between those two, that's considered a sidechain in a broader sense. It's not using the software that the people are building at RippleX and Ripple itself, but this is also considered like kind of a sidechain, right? Especially like if you go into the EVM sidechains that people are discussing, which is also being developed right now by, I think, RippleX. There's still, I think, no concrete information about this, but I'm very curious about this as well. But yeah, sidechain is just so broad.
So then, to, I guess, make a hypothetical over of this, like, let's say IMF, World Bank, the I guess the largest banks in the world, right, the national banks, set up their own set of validators, right, and their own sort of default UNL, and then all of their participating banks in their network create their own nodes, right, and only trust the nodes that on their private default UNL from all of the world's banks, right? Is that essentially would be a fork of the XRP ledger,
Yeah.
specifically into all of the banks that choose to participate in it, and they would then be insulated from any network activity outside of their UNL list?
Yeah,
Correct. This is my understanding as well. Yeah, like you can still.
Sorry, Vet. I did a whole video with Crypto Erie about this probably over a year ago, and about how this is important aspect for people, especially like the lawmaker people, to understand, because this is a very important aspect of the way the technology works. And it's different from proof of work, and it's different from proof of stake.
Yeah, but in my opinion, Karma, you touched on this, but in my opinion, it's very crucial to understand, especially with the side chains. They seem for some people to be the the solution for everything. It is not, especially if you copy this XRPL and you make changes to it, right? You can run very, very quickly like into dragons and have issues, because it's so fine-tuned, the whole system. Like you then truly maybe start appreciating the XRPL and how it's functioning, right? If you just change some variables, you can have huge impact on the network. Maybe not immediately, but maybe 2 years ahead, you will have major issues. So yeah, this is the thing. And also with sidechains, you are dependent on these federators to let you out. This is the thing. Like if you have these banks, right? They created this side chain, and you are on the side chain, and you want to go to the main chain, but they are blocking or whatever you, right? Because they changed the ledger that they can, because on the original, the main net, you cannot do this. A validator cannot block you. But if they make any changes to this, they can block you from crossing to the main chain, and this might be in their interest. But in my opinion, this is also an issue, because I wouldn't appreciate it personally.
Yeah, me either. I'm just trying to figure out how it is that banks might be in any way interested in participating in a network that has a whole bunch of other people on it. Like myself, right? Like any other JPEG NFT project. You know what I mean? Excuse me, I gotta put my order in at Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. I mean, the thing is, I think we will see more the separation between money and government, because right now money is government, kind of. You trust the US dollar because there is just freaking government behind it, with the biggest military in the world by far. So a lot of other things. Obviously you have a strong economy, but it's just the foundation of all what I mentioned in the beginning that enabled this. But I think we will see more a separation of money and government, and you will have a decentralized maybe money in that sense. How far it is decentralized or whatever, it's to be seen. But all these things that we have seen in the past, that the governments come out and bail people out, this will not be possible if you separate this. But this is also a huge chance, in my opinion.
Well, it's definitely a big task to take on. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, because you will piss a lot of people. Once you have power, you don't want to give it up, right?
Well, there's that, but there's a whole host of other problems to consider. I mean, you could spend hours talking about all the different issues just to consider. That's before you actually start to consider them. Right? Like just preparing a list of things that are need to be considered would take you could take probably a whole day with a educated team of people.
It's also the lose of control, and I want to add this because this is very important. You cannot enforce anything in such an environment. We see this with Ripple. Ripple, it's so clear. Like, it's more so now than ever for me. They have no control over the XRPL whatsoever, really. Like, yeah, they contribute a lot to the source code and everything, to the code base, but especially with making decisions, they have so nothing to say, man. Like, the best example is indeed NFTs, XS20. If you would go after Ripple's marketing or business department, we would have XS20 2 years ago, probably, or whatever, like before anything else. But it's actually the net. Yeah.
The other thing I think that's important to understand is when you add someone to your UNL, you're not trusting that person. All they're doing is checking the cryptography of the transaction. That validator that you stick on your UNL, they don't care about the transaction. They don't care about the details of the transaction. They don't get anything for processing the transaction. It's just is it signed appropriately, and it'll do a couple other checks, and then off you go. And they're on to the next thing. They don't care. They do not care.
Exactly. This is this is to the root to the XRPL. But with these validators, and especially the ones on the unique node lists, the thing is, to be included, or why they get included, it's because of the skills they have in maintaining such hardware, and to be very responsive to any changes, and have experience, right? A big experience over the years. And only this is the important, only this. Nobody includes someone because of his political views or because of his, origin, where he comes from. because he's whatever, he's from Africa or whatever. No, it's just because hey, you run a good hardware. Whatever
Well,
votes you do, this
I,
is
I
democratic in my opinion. Very good.
I could see having I could see considering, okay, maybe, you're in Australia and you're in, Africa and you're in Europe and you're in South America and you're on the West Coast and I'm on the East Coast, right? Because if something happens, and there's a hurricane, my server could go down. So the idea that I have people in different geographic locations is good.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
this is obviously taking also into consideration. Like, you have the TOML file in your on your domain attached, which is needed for the a verification process, and everyone can look it up. Hey, where are you from? And more important, where is your validator sitting? Because it's not necessarily the same place where you are. And this is obviously taken into consideration. Like, you don't want to have like 90% of the validators somewhere in Kentucky or so. Like, you want to have them maybe spread out to Africa, Asia, Australia, Germany, whatever, Antarctica.
According to you guys, who do you guys think have the best validator on the market right now? I'm such a perfectionist, but the validator that the Tool Labs runs in the mountains in Stockholm is, yeah, that's one hell of a location to have a validator.
oh man, I saw
Oh, yeah,
pictures of
yeah,
that.
yeah.
I saw pictures of that and I was like, you got to be kidding me. But I guess it makes sense. I don't know.
Yeah,
Is
lovely
that the one that's
location.
inside a mountain?
Yeah,
That's that one.
Yeah, I think this was also, yeah, I remember this one because there was like a lot of news about it when they got added. I think people were saying, oh, now they built it into this, I think it's a bunker even. They said, oh, this is like in a bunker, and oh, they say, like, you get this riddlers instantly, and you know looking for the signs.
but is that only how many validators do they have inside there? Is that only one, or is it more?
I think they have only one, but the thing is, um, only because you have one validator, like you have one node. A validator is a node, but a lot of these big hub providers on XRPL infrastructure, they run a lot of freaking nodes. Like, they have just a lot of freaking nodes, but they have just one validator to make it obviously democratic, right? You don't want to have one who has like 10 validators and all these 10 are on the unique node list.
This is a good point, Vet, because um, the cluster is what because you
It's
want to.
clusters, yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, and so, but it's a good point because just because I have enough money to buy a whole cluster, right? I'm still only one vote. So, like, that's different than proof of work, where if I have enough money to buy a whole, mining farm, then I get more say in the network, right? Not because I'm
Exactly,
doing a
yeah.
better job than anybody else, not because I'm special, not because it just simply from the fact that I have the resources, I get more say. Um, that's not how the XRP ledger works. Like, yeah, you're gonna be running a whole cluster, but you're still just one validator.
And speaking of clusters, I think this is very interesting. Maybe not now. I don't know how far Hamza is already, but I think he has something brewing there. Maybe he will share timely, or maybe even now. Like, he's doing something very exciting, I think. As a campus ambassador, right? You're Hamza. You are a campus ambassador.
Yep. Yeah. So that's really just an idea that I'm fleshing out in my head right now in regards to the way that I want to set it up, with how much hardware, what hardware, and ultimately what network capability, because it would be neat in my mind to be able to make a mobile cluster out of Raspberry Pis, and just set it up with Kubernetes, and ideally, right, have it be battery powered. Give it a 5G card, right? And now I've got an XRPL cluster that I could carry around in a backpack. But still trying to flesh out the hardware
So
side of it.
I don't know if that's I don't know if that's doable. Well,
I'd love to learn more about why you think that.
because the connectivity you need, a Raspberry Pi, like I can send you the at least what the specs that VC sent me for running a cluster. It's not a it's uh it's more than a Raspberry Pi.
You talking about the gigabit Ethernet?
You gotta have that. There's other things. I mean, I don't think you got how would you do the memory for a full history node? How would you do the throughput? Like the little poor thing would overheat. Um,
That's the point of running multiple Raspberry Pis with Kubernetes.
I've heard of Kubernetes, but I don't know if I remember what that is.
It's essentially using multiple computers as if they're one computer with load balancing between them.
Is it a lot of people that use like a Raspberry Pi to run a validator on? Maybe because it's it's only a card, so it's like you can have it online all the time without problems. But I don't know.
Yeah, but not at commercial scale.
Well, I mean, depending, as the 5G infrastructure continues to be built out, as we start to see the amount of speeds that are promised from that, how could that be leveraged to impact the XRP ledger and support it?
I'm sorry. Ask what was that question again?
Sure. So, the idea of 5G, right, or whatever's going to come next after 5G has promised significant throughput speed upgrades, right, bandwidth upgrades to mobile devices. So leveraging that in addition to, in relation to the XRP ledger, I don't know. Yeah, like I said, I'm still trying to flesh it out and see if it's something that could work or would work. Ultimately, it's just an idea that kind of experiment I want to try out. Not necessarily for you know, to put it into like as a product in commercial production, but to see if it can be done, and if it can, and if it's able to help other people, great. I'm happy to release whatever it is I come up with in regards to it.
I mean, obviously, you can already with the Sun wallet, you can already run a wallet on a phone. I would scratch my head about what use. I mean, I have an answer for this, but I don't want to talk about it. But I would scratch my head about why, in terms of like, if I'm going to develop this, what's my market? Like, who's going to use, who wants to, how many people really want to run, and why would they want to run a validator? Now, I can see why they would want to have a wallet. That's fine. But why would they want to run a validator? I think the phone is a more powerful machine than a Raspberry Pi.
Yeah, that's true.
I would love to have a validator so I could, like be a part of the voting process and things like that, and only to keep the network up and running. But yeah,
that's the reason basically.
Yeah, I mean, and ultimately, right, like if you're supporting the network, right, that why does anybody run a validator, right? It costs you money, so it's ultimately to support the network. But coming back to the potential for the idea that the question I brought up earlier, as the XRP ledger becomes mainstream, there will be a commercial market, I would think, from these financial institutions to ensure their reliability on the network to host their own nodes. Just guessing, but that's what I would think.
Yeah, I have a feeling, and I've never been able, because back then I couldn't, nobody's ever confirmed nor denied, just skirted the question. But I think that that when the RippleNet, right? When the bank, what was the first thing they called that? X current. When they would buy X current, that they would run their own validator, right? And then there's different ways to configure it and basically recreate correspondent banking just digitally and cheaper, better, faster, cheaper. And I think each bank was running their own validator. I mean, I don't know how else they would have done it. The banks aren't going to like give up control. That's ridiculous. I mean, you're not going to make that sale.
The bank are gonna lose control, I guess, and I love to see it how it all will play out. The panic when everyone
Sounds good.
sees that. Yeah, I can't wait to see it.
I don't think it'll happen, honestly. And that's one of the reasons I noticed a lot of crypto people in general had a super bad vibe towards XRP because it supports the existing system as opposed to trying to go with this this idea that we're going to revolutionize and take control, and the people that have all the money and all the power right now, they're going to be burnt and we're just going to take it all back. Like, okay, sounds good. Let me know how communism works out. Oh, it didn't.
Yeah,
like,
I never understood all the I don't know why. I think it's actually been a detriment to the entire industry. In fact, I think this industry would probably have moved along a lot faster without a lot of that anti-government, anti-bank rhetoric. Um, you can't screw around with this kind of stuff. I mean, it's important, and it can change lives for both better and worse if done wrong. But I don't know. I've said this several times. We didn't have governments at one point in time, right? Like we being humanity. We created governments for reasons. Okay. Now, then we have, like laws. We have laws and stuff. Like you can't steal and stuff. Um, and then we didn't have banks, and then we created banks for reasons, right? I mean, now you can go get a loan. You can people can. It helps process payments, and I mean, I just is crazy to think that everybody that came before the people that are currently alive were complete morons, and we should burn down all of their thinking and effort, and that's just crazy. I don't. I just think that's like a not helpful narrative. It's not realistic.
so I think it comes back to the issue that I mean, so I'm a Christian, right? So I don't want to like push my beliefs on anybody, but ultimately we have a we the first time we try to do things doesn't work out super great, and so our culture, right, our species is an iterative process, and but to think we need to burn it all down in order to start fresh, it like you said, it disregards all of the work, effort, and reasoning that every other person that came before us had, right? Like you said, they built it for a reason. So that's a really good
I
point,
don't
Karma. Thank
think
you for that.
we actually have to burn everything to the ground either, because once we have a banking system or financial system that is like decentralized and open source that everyone can look into it, we don't even have to replace our politicians, because they have to do their job and do it right, because everyone can see what they are doing. So I think they would like change overnight and like do their job like they should do.
Well, let me add on top of that. Hang on one second, OC. Let me add on top of what I just said that this financial market stuff, like it is complicated. So 90% of the people that are out there spouting their opinion or emotional sort of, I don't know, opinion really don't know what the hell they're talking about. So, consider the source kind of thing. And yeah, go for it, OC.
No. I don't want to switch up the topic. I just, want to bring up what you guys posted, pinned up top about the XRPL bounties. So it seems these just launched, which pretty much compared to the XRPL grants, I literally copied and pasted the email, guys. The XRPL grants, it's for developers who want to bring their idea, but the bounties is actually for current ideas within the proposals, and developers get awarded for meeting those requirements. And you can also submit a proposal to be added as a bounty. I think that's pretty cool.
What was that last part?
So I posted up a link in that thread as well. XRPL bounties / proposals, I think.
Yeah.
So there's a list of current proposals that which if the developer is able to meet the requirements for those proposals, then they'll get the bounty for that proposal. But you can also submit an idea to be added as a proposal.
That's interesting. Like a proposal to the ledger.
Exactly.
Huh. I didn't see that coming.
Grants
for the
with a twist.
ecosystem. What's that, Hamza?
It's grants with a twist.
Yeah, it's grants.
Yeah. First come, it's a race, pretty much. It's a nice way to expedite things. Definitely, push some motivation and put some motivation in there.
See,
Sorry, Carmen, you can go.
no, go ahead. I didn't have anything good to say.
Okay. What do you guys think about the hooks amendment? Why is it not activated yet? Or are they waiting for the XLS 20 to be voted on and implemented first before? And do you guys think it will be the hooks amendment will be voted on right after?
I would think, and from my understanding, the Hooks Amendment, I wouldn't expect it until 2020, late 2023, early 2024 at the earliest, just because it's such a fundamental change to the infrastructure of the ledger that it absolutely needs as much testing and QA and, I mean, legitimate, trying to break it as possible. Because once it's implemented, there's no going back. There's no undoing it, right? And it's what it brings to the ledger is so powerful that it requires a significant amount of testing. Like you thought NFTs were big and bad, like hooks it's revolutionary for our network, and so that absolutely requires as much testing as possible.
Okay, thanks so much for clearing that up. So the testing is still in progress. That was basically what I was wondering about.
Yeah, and actually, not only is it in progress and open, but there's somebody made a project to simplify the idea of testing hooks. So it's like Blockly something. I'll try and find it, but to make it a little more palatable for somebody to visualize what hooks do and how they work. I'll try and either find a tweet or make a tweet and put it up top for you.
I think I know what hooks do, but thanks, Hamza.
Hooks is a but you did a very that he just explained. He answered the question perfectly. But hooks is going to enable things that I haven't even thought of yet. It brings the capacity to string different functionalities together. So you have each right now on the ledger. Okay, you do a transaction, and you can use one functionality. Maybe put an order on an order book, send a payment, set a trust line, whatever. You can do one thing. hooks will allow you to do that one thing and have it cascade into 4 or 5, I think it's up to 8 other things. So other functionalities. So you can start stringing these functionalities together. This opens up a whole new ballpark in terms of like what you can be creative with. I hope that makes some sense. It's going to be a while, and I'm not surprised. It's a pretty significant thing.
Now I wonder, sounds stupid because what is a smart oracle contra smart contract? That's my stupid question for today.
The smart contract is just a set of business logic. So, like, say you have some business logic, like, hey, if a hurricane comes down and blows your house down, then I give you like $1,000, and then it's just a automated way of enforcing that business logic. I mean, you can just come up with all kinds of business logic.
I just threw a screenshot.
Yeah, but the question was, what is a smart oracle contra smart contract?
Oracle is usually a data feed.
Come again? I didn't get it.
A data feed, like how to. Okay, if I got a smart contract that says, if a hurricane comes into your area code, then or your zip code, then pay the person $1,000. There's literally a company that does this. They have to have an oracle, right? Like they need to know, well, did a hurricane, like every day, they need to double check. Did a hurricane come by there? Did a hurricane not come by there? Right? If you check the box that says, yep, a hurricane came by there, then you got to pay the $1,000. So the oracle is the data feed. The smart contract is the execution piece. Like
okay. Yeah, okay. Come on. Clear it up a little bit more. Thanks so much.
Yeah, no worries.
Another example and a little bit of hype about how, actually, never mind. I can't make you all sign NDAs, so I'm gonna keep working on that one, and I'll talk about it another time. But Karma, I do have a question for you, actually, or anybody that might be able to answer it. When these Nostra Vostro accounts are no longer required, how much liquidity will that free up in the world?
Oh my goodness. That's a good question. The answer is I don't know. At least that's my answer. If somebody else knows better, then I think there's 2 different aspects to consider. You've got it's not just the absolute dollar amounts that are in the Nostra Vostro accounts, because some of this stuff isn't going to actually go away. There's a reason why it's done the way it is. The liquidity providers are going to be the ones that hold the value in what we currently call Nostra Vostro accounts, or market makers, whatever you want to call them. They're going to be the guys that have money on both sides, on both ledgers, right? Both currencies, asset types, whatever you want, whatever they're providing liquidity for. The probably, I think, more important but less appreciated aspect is the speed. Because if I can turn my inventory over, daily, right, instead of say monthly.
Hey, Karma, the host is having issues. If you want to check on the account real quick,
Let's see.
make sure it didn't crash or anything.
Yeah.
Just go ahead and jump back in there with the account. But if not,
if you if I can turn over my inventory, daily instead of monthly, then I need to carry less inventory. So let's say it costs me $1 per item to keep an inventory. If I only have to have $1 of inventory and I just sell that item each day, then I only got $1 that I got to like put out there. Versus if I can only get inventory every 30 days, now I got to have $30 of inventory. So it's the time component. This is the ODL aspect. And then you can throw in the line of credit and add leverage to it. I'm telling you, this is going to be a situation. Wait till this thing gets turned on. It's definitely not turned on yet. I hope
What
that
effect?
helps.
What do you think the effect of? I mean, so regardless.